if we're looking at what Hot Toys has released thus far in January 2023, so in 1 month, there were 8 releases. And then I made a separate tab for announcements, right? Or I think there's 7 releases. Sorry, 7, because this tab doesn't count. But 7 releases, and then we had 5 announcements. So we're looking at 12 updates over the course of 31 days? And even then, if we're not counting the weekends, it's less than that. Hot Toys was pretty productive in January. So I want to ask you guys, moving forward, do we expect this to be a pace that is maintainable, sustainable, rather? Because that's pretty quick. Kiko, I'm going to start with you here. Do you expect because if they drop this much, people's budget is going to be hurting. What do you think, Kiko?
Well, the thing that's the takeaway for me is that there were more releases than announcements. That's right. A huge thing. Whenever you can chip away at the things that are in inventory to kind of catch back up, I like to see that. It kind of blew my mind when they did the coming soon picture, and I think there was like 20 figures on there, I suppose. And between December and January, I think they've gone all through, but like 3? It's just the Shang-Chi figures, and I think the suit up and Jesse and the clone. I think so. There's like 4 out of like the 20 plus. I mean, they got rid of like 80% of the coming soon figures in 2 months. That's pretty wild. I know sometimes it's taken 6 months for them to go through that whole coming soon part. So I like to see that. I know a lot of the strategy behind it was, hey, we're going to take a little bit off, Chinese New Year, things like that. Let's get these out the door. And I would say, with the exception of a few of them, I'm looking at the Wonder Woman. People didn't like that. I forget what all came out in December, but there weren't a lot of misses of people complaining about stuff. There was the Mando, there was the integrated suit Spider-Man. There was a lot of heavy hitters of the Mark V suit up. There's all kinds of things that were actually pretty damn good, and they weren't like half-assed. So I like to see it. Can you keep that up? I don't know. It depends on what their labor force is like. And I want to say, knock on wood, that we're moving past, the COVID lockdown and, the delays at the factory. I mean, it's still out there. Obviously, people are still working through that. But I really hope that, they've ramped up their production, and because they scaled properly before the pandemic. They maybe had these plans in place that, hey, 2020 is going to be our year. And then, obviously things happen. So maybe the plans were in place and the infrastructure was in place. They said, okay, look, we can put this many things out. We can deliver. This is going to be okay. And maybe they're just now finally getting up to that speed to where they are running at full capacity. I guess we'll see. 1 month doesn't make a trend, but I would love to see, a couple months to see how it is. And I'm encouraged. Some people are like, it's too much. You don't have to get everything. We've talked about that. You certainly don't have to. And if there are that many things, not everybody is getting everything. So there's going to be availability, for you. You don't have to, dopo and all that stuff. I mean, we'll see how it goes. But this is encouraging for someone like me, because I like to have this. I don't like stuff just sitting, I don't want to collect pre-orders. I want to collect figures. So this is a good thing. But yeah, the main takeaway, more actual releases than announcements. That's my big thing.
Yeah, I think so too, Kiko. I think this is an exciting development. But again, like we've preached, Carlos, I think this requires and sort of mandates that people be more selective, because if they're going to drop this much, this consistently, then you're not going to be able to get everything. So people are going to have to be more selective by necessity. So what do you think, Carlos, about this? Do you think Hot Toys is going to continue this sort of trend they got going here?
I don't particularly think so. So, from our Facebook group, now it does a very, very small test, but about 150 people said that 75% of their budget, or 75% of people said it's 4,000 and under, right? So I'm assuming that Hot Toys at this point knows exactly, their ideal buyer persona, right? So they know that if they release all of this all at once, every single month, then I think things are going to set. I don't think people are going to be able to buy this. And besides, I think they just ramped this up because of the Chinese New Year. They knew we were going to be out for like a month. Nothing was going to come out. And they were like, hey, let's just ramp everything up for now and, make sure that we can get things rolling for the time being. But I don't see them being this effective moving forward. Maybe like for the older figure or the newer figures now, because people keep saying, or we'll actually keep saying that it's going to be smaller batches because less pre-orders and we're seeing things waitlist and all that. But I don't know if I can say like Hot Toys is gonna be this efficient moving forward. I think it was just literally for the Chinese New Year, and they're like, let's just get enough of it out. Which is actually interesting because I would think that Wenwu and the Shang-Chi, I thought they would have released that right before Chinese New Year, but now maybe they're gonna release it right when maybe when they come back. Those are two figures that are left on the list still.
Yep.
So hopefully we see those pretty soon. But overall, man, I know collectors are gonna want this, but I think releasing too much, I think you're gonna get a ton of people who, if you have this month after month, I think what's gonna happen is you're gonna see a lot more people leave the hobby because it's gonna be too much for them to keep up. They're not going to have enough funds for it, and I think overall they need to be able to pace themselves, and they're not going to be able to if they're this efficient, right? So I think this is going to stop, or hopefully it does. At least that's what I think.
That's a good point, Carlos, because you wouldn't be able to keep up for most people. I mean, I know we wouldn't. So with our
I definitely couldn't.
Yeah, and
Kiko
luckily
Kiko might, but I couldn't.
Yeah, Kiko, he's a saint after all. So he's he goes on vacations. But I will say that these figures on this list, luckily there was nothing here that I was getting anyway. So for me, it kind of worked out. I did have King Shark on pre-order at one point. However, I ended up canceling it way back when I was doing a purge. So
after our discussion, if it does hit the bottom, then I might get King Shark. Honestly,
dude, me too. I honestly, I will.
It's not priced Brad. It's not priced. I can't even talk. It's not priced bad already.
No.
But if it goes, 10-15% off, I'll probably get it just because
10-15%.
Yeah. Well, we'll see.
I can get you 10-15% right now.
Yeah, I know,
okay,
right?
Okay. Well, let's talk after this.
Yeah, right. Well, Kiko, because I'm thinking it's already what, like 220, something like that, right? So like if it goes
200, I'm in.
Yeah, Kiko, if it goes something ridiculous like 160, 150, I'll probably pick it up.
Well, even today, that Illusion Iron Man, that's a diecast figure, was like 25% off.
Plastic.
Is it?
Oh yeah, the Mysterio one. Yeah, that
There's
was
no
plastic.
diecast.
Yeah, that's like the one rare one that's not diecast because I think it was too complicated to do diecast. Yeah.
Understandable. Well, I'm glad I don't have that.
But you're right, Kiko. It's very inexpensive now. Rather, it's like 30% off at this point. So yeah, but it's a great figure from what I can see. So, but yeah, guys, be interesting to see.